Hello and welcome to what is a special little episode which initially was going to be part of was going to be tacked onto our VFL wrap up of round one from around about a week ago. But it got a bit too long on us and we decided to split it up into two parts. So here in this episode, Al and I just take a bit of a look at the Lions recruiting since Chris Fagan was announced as the coach in the end of 2016, and just basically who we got into the club via trades, free agencies, supplementary picks and the draft. Have a bit of a look at whether they're a boom, a bust or still a work in progress. Obviously the guys who we've picked up in the most recent trade and draft period and draft we'll just gloss over because we don't know what they're going to give to us just yet. Although having said that, the three boys we picked up in the draft who have played so far do look like they're going to be awesome, especially Logan Morris, but that's a story for another day. And also we won't really take a look at anyone who's left the club for whether they've asked for a trade elsewhere, gone as a free agent or being cut, unless it's relevant to the actual conversation. So we'll just see how that goes, and hopefully this is not too boring for you guys, and hopefully it also provides a bit of insight to those who sort of just vaguely follow what happens in this regard, because Al really does get into this stuff. I sort of do as well, but this is like Al's wheelhouse as far as this stuff goes. And we were hoping to have Alicia Romero on as well, who is an absolute guru on trade recruiting and draft. And she was on the first episode last year during the trade and draft period. So she really knows everything that goes on, those contract lengths, contract amounts probably, even though they're a secret. And yeah, she knows all the ins and outs of everything. So we will get her on soon and have a good old chat with her, particularly about who's in and out of contract and that sort of thing. All right, so here we go. This is, I guess, part two of our previous conversation. And in that one, Al touched on the father-sons we've got coming, but didn't really go into a lot of detail. He will here. Touched on some guys on our VFL list who have a few little sort of quirks behind them, potentially could be picked up in a draft or rookie listed at some point, and also guys who have some interesting connections to the club. So here it is. So yeah, all that talk brings me to, or brings us, more importantly, to what we discussed that we were going to talk about.
Yep.
So I will get you to bring up the future father-sons that we've got on the horizon after this, because that's really interesting. But we'll take a look. So we'll take a look at the our recruiting as a club since Fagan came along. So I'm going to say 2016 draft and trade period starting, even though his first year as coach was 2017. But obviously those guys...
He was there around that time talking to the list managers and stuff.
Yeah, and those guys picked up that year, obviously played under his watch. So like, obviously guys like Harris Andrews, Eric Hipwood and Reece Matheson and so forth, they came a year or two before.
Yep.
So... and Harris Andrews was one of the biggest steals of the century.
Yes.
At like pick 55 or something, but we won't worry about that. So I'm going to start in 2016.
Sure.
So, and this is a reflection on the club as it was at the time. We had no trades in or free agents wanting to come to us.
Mm-hmm.
Or we didn't get any free agents. I don't know if anyone wanted to come or not. We did lose Pierce Hanley, not that we'll talk about players who went out. But so our draft haul, though, so what I'll do, I'll read them all out, and then we'll go through each one and decide whether we think they're a boom, a bust, or a work in progress.
Sure.
So at 3, we got Hugh McCluggage, 17, Jared Berry, 23, Alex Witherden, 55, Jacob Allison, 71, Corey Lyons. So McCluggage, I think that's a boom.
Yep, definitely.
Berry, I think we've got to say the amount of games he's played, that's a boom.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Witherden, I would say things we traded him off. I know he was great early on. That's got to be a bust.
Yeah, that's a tricky one because it's I know we've got to fit into one of those 3 categories, but I wouldn't have declared him a bust because he was really handy early on.
Yeah,
he came in and he smashed it for a couple of years with the other 2 boys we just mentioned. I guess if you're talking long term, I guess bust.
Yeah, the football he gave us was definitely a boom, but I think it becomes a bust because we traded him.
Yeah,
and there's two stories about what happened there. One story is that Fagan wanted him out, and the other story is that he wanted out. I'm not going to take sides. I do know what people close to him have told me, but yeah, I wish he stayed because I loved him. I mean, my handle on social media is LionsBoy29, and he was number 29. So, yeah.
Favorite of yours.
Oh, yeah, and obviously because I know his family as well, and they're lovely people. But yeah, and Jacob Allison and Corey Lyons, I think we've got to say they were both busts.
Yes. I don't think Corey Lyons even debuted, did he?
No, he played.
I know Allison played a few games.
Yeah, Allison debuted the same game as Sam Skinner, and Fagan really talked him up like big time. And I didn't actually watch that game till later, but I didn't really think he did a great deal. But like he was okay, but there was that little incident he had with a teammate that kind of soured things. I won't go into
I won't go into specifics, but I had heard he wasn't very well liked internally.
Yeah, like it's not really for us to say publicly. We shouldn't even really know stuff like that anyway. So, but yeah, so in the rookie draft, we got Jake Barrett at 2, Mitchell Hinge at 20, and the Big O at 37. And then we Cat B rookied Matt Eagles and Blake Brewer. So
that was a busy offseason, wasn't it? Oh, that's a lot of blokes in.
Yeah, we chopped a lot of guys too that year. Like,
yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of the original Jackson Payne got the arse that year, I'm pretty sure, and Ryan Harwood, and nearly just about every redhead we had at the club was gone except for Mitch Robinson.
Oh, I think Harwood lasted another year actually.
Did he?
After that? Yeah,
maybe. Oh, yeah, I think because he played in that NEFL premiership in 2017, didn't he?
Yeah, and do you remember the controversy around Harwood when he got in trouble at the airport because he was big into his hunting, and he tried to take his hunting knives through one of the airports somewhere, and he got in trouble for it.
So that was him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So with the rookie draft, I would say Jake Barrett was a bust.
He was. I liked him though.
He had something about him.
Yeah, because he was like that was a real the year that he was drafted because he was originally a Giants player.
Yeah.
He was I think he was the last pick taken in the draft that he was taken, and he was like pick 90 something. Like,
yeah,
he was really high.
Possibly.
But he never clicked with us. Obviously it was just a complete gamble. But I always liked him. But yeah, he was a bust for sure.
Yeah, like he kicked a couple of ripper goals. I know the boys on the Brisbane Lions fancast were talking about him a couple of episodes ago about this ripper goal he kicked, and I sort of vaguely remember it. I'll admit, during the 2016 year, I spent a lot of time on my phone at games, not really watching.
Yeah.
And 2017, I didn't see a lot of games because of work commitments. So I think I missed that one. But Mitch Hinge, your mate?
Yeah, I was never a fan of him. You know that.
I thought the world of him, but
yeah, I'm not. I mean, yeah, obviously you're entitled to your opinion. I never quite understood why, but I knew that was something that you and I would talk about quite a lot because you were always saying he was banging down the door. Let's give him a go. He's really good. and I just never thought he was that great.
He lacks a bit of leg speed, I think.
Yeah.
But like he had a lot of ball winning ability as a youngster, and then obviously now at Adelaide, we've seen what he's done since he's gone there.
Yeah, well, he's a bust for us, but a boom for them.
Yeah, yeah. And the big O,
massive.
You know, yeah,
massive
like
boom.
there's only one way that's going, isn't it?
I still can't believe we got him so cheap.
Like the bargain of the century. Like, look, he was at Casey Demons. I don't think he was ever going to beat Braden Pruce and Max Gawn, and I know they had a couple other big guys. Oh yeah, that guy with the beard from Queensland, Jake Spencer.
Oh yeah,
yeah, he was never going to beat them at the time.
No,
he used to catch the train to training, and Casey Fields is like it's a long way. It's like from the Melbourne CBD, it's probably like Brisbane to Gold Coast distance.
Yeah, and he was a part-time Christmas tree salesman at the time too.
He was. So yeah, but look, I mean, that is like I think we're going to look back on him when we've got a couple of premierships in the bag, and he's a guy who never gets mentioned by the media in the discussions.
Yeah,
we're going to look back and say he held his own against all the best ruckmen of his era.
Yep.
Different type of play. He's more of an old school sort of player. But yeah, big win for us. Massive ups.
Oh, definitely.
And I'm going to say that Matty Eagles was a bit of a boom. Like to get any games out of him at all.
Yeah, I still can't. That's such a crazy story. Winning a reality TV show contest and getting a list spot.
Yeah, because what's his name? Wagner that went to Port Adelaide in the first season.
Yeah.
I don't even think he played for their Sandford team. I don't. Yeah, no. I don't think he did anything.
I'll never forget that Gabba game against. I think it was the Hawks.
Yeah, it was.
Where he kicked his one and only goal. That was an incredible game. We were up like 50 points. Like we were smashing them. It was like it felt like the kind of game where you could send an Auskick kid on and they were going to get a goal. Like it was a good game. Louis Taylor was tearing it up that game.
I remember really early Jared Roughhead got on top of us and then Eric Hipwood might have missed a shot at goal or whatever and the socials lit up. Get rid of Hipwood, he's no good, he's useless. And then I think Hipwood started getting a bit of the ball and we started getting on top.
Yeah.
And suddenly the same people were going, how good's Hipwood?
Yeah, exactly.
Look, I reckon the fact that we got maybe 5 or 6 games out of Matty and a couple of NEFL premierships, one where he was the captain and the other one where he, I think, got the medal.
Yep. He got the best on ground or the equivalent of Norm Smith for the NEFL.
Yeah. We'll just call it the Norm Smith of the NEFL.
Yeah. I think I've seen that trophy holding a door open at Lions HQ a few times.
Wouldn't surprise me. Considering the NEFL doesn't even exist anymore, it would not surprise me. And Blake Brewer, his sister Jess used to be our social media girl, and
that's exactly right. Yeah, I was going to mention that.
She was lovely. Like in the early days of our supporter group on Facebook, she used to help me out with a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And she helped us out with the women's team to get a bit of info out there and to get some other things sort of promoted. And rewarded us with an invite down to like a captain's run, but that wasn't public.
Yeah,
for the women's team. So big ups to Jess. That's got nothing to do with her brother Blake.
No, and just quickly speaking on Jess as well. So I had an interaction with her. I think she was the one that. It's a pity Alicia's not here because Alicia was in it as well. There was some kind of meeting that a few random Lions fans based in Brisbane got invited to.
Oh, I remember you went to that.
Yeah, it was me, Alicia, and a mutual friend of ours, Jordan, from the Brisbane Lions supporters group, ex-admin there like me. And there was a few other people that I don't recognise, but there was about 8 of us or so, and we got pulled into the boardroom, and we had a quick chat with David Noble when he was still at the club. Yep. And he gave us a walkthrough of the plans for the club for the next like 3 years.
Yeah.
And there was some credible information that was put in there. So Jess was the one that gave me I just got a message from the Lions admin team just randomly out of nowhere and just asked if I was interested. And I said, bloody oath, I'm interested.
Oh, yeah.
And I got some great information. So they told us about, they didn't say specific names because they, plans can fall apart and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they basically outlined, Charlie Cameron coming to the club. They outlined Lockie Neal coming to the club. They told us a whole bunch of stuff. They didn't say these guys are coming to the club. They just said we have a massive trade target this year that we're going to get. We have one for this year. Like they laid all of it out with us and just gave us the whole full scoop. And they just like, yep, we just want to keep you in the loop. And then they asked our feedback on a few things and asked how they could do better on certain things and whatnot. That was fantastic. I loved that.
See, what they could have done was just tell Mitch Robinson everything.
Yeah.
Because at the 2017 Vic Family Day, when one of my kids was getting him to sign a footy, they didn't want a photo with him because it's Mitch. Yep. But anyway, he said to my kid, "Oh, how good are all these young blokes we've got? McCluggage and that are coming through." And the kid's like, "Yeah, love Huey. He looks like he's going to be really good." And he goes, "Just wait until Charlie Cameron comes next year." And we're like, "What?"
Mm.
There was a lot of eyes lighting up there. So, yeah, he let that one slip, whether it was accidental or otherwise. But your best mate, Mitch Robinson.
Yes. Close friends.
Yeah, yeah.
He was good for that sort of stuff, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. So, well, that actually brings us to 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So trade period, we got Luke Hodge and pick 44, sorry.
Yep.
And we gave up. No, sorry, we got Luke Hodge. Start again. I'm getting overexcited here. We got Luke Hodge and pick 44, which ended up being Connor Ballenden.
Yep.
Roughly. And then we gave up pick 43 and 75.
Mm-hmm.
We got Charlie Cameron for pick 12.
Yep.
So
Steal.
Both of those, I say they're steals and they're booms.
Yep. Definitely agreed.
Just like Hodgie, I don't even care what he did on field. He was good. But
yep. I just wanted him. I just wanted him around the club. Just wanted
everything else he brought to the club.
Yep.
Like I was talking probably around 2 or 3 that year to a player's dad, a backline player's dad, and he said, every day, Hodgie teaches the boys something new they didn't know. Yep. That's helping their football. And he's like, it might be what to eat on this particular day, what to wear at this particular training session, what time to arrive at the MCG. It doesn't matter. It's all helpful.
Yep. Oh, yeah. It was one of those ones where it was forecasted fairly early on, rumoured at least early on.
Yeah.
And from the moment I heard it, I was like, "Yep, please, let's make that happen. That we need that. That's great."
Yeah, and the best part about it for me is that some of my Hawthorn supporter friends, and you may know one or two of them through the internet, they lost their minds and they got really salty about it and carried on and were like, "Oh, well, we got nothing for Luke Hodge. You shafted us." Well, they got James Warple, who's a pretty good player.
Yeah, I think they should pipe down because that's they got a pretty good one out of that.
Yeah,
the thing I think that is funny though is that he went through the whole retirement circus of the speeches and the award ceremonies and stuff.
Yeah,
just to pull out of the parade at the last minute, the grand final parade at the last minute, and then be like, I'm playing for another 2 years up north.
Do you reckon Clarko told him to do the retirement speeches and stuff, and just because it smells like something Clarko would get him to do?
100%.
Like, he got Jordan Lewis and Sam Mitchell to get up to some funny buggers too, but that doesn't concern us. So in the draft that year, we got number 1, Cam Rayner.
Yep.
Number 15, Zach Bailey.
Yep.
Number 18, Brandon Starcevich. Number 41, my mate, Toby Wooler.
Yeah.
There's a story for another time with Toby Wooler. Great guy, by the way.
Yep.
Number 43, Connor Ballenden.
Okay, yep.
I think that was actually 45, but I've just done a typo. And number 54, Jack Payne, and we Cat B rookie Keen Hanley.
Yeah,
So
another busy year, that one.
yeah, and like I remember thinking, what a draft haul.
Mm.
Like Rayner, I think that's a boom.
Yeah, I think so. Like, if we were to, I would rate it a good, not a great.
It's a little bit of a work in progress still, but
yeah, it's somewhere between the two for me.
yeah, what is he?
Definitely not a bust, not at all.
23, 24. So
yeah,
he's probably hasn't even hit his physical peak yet.
Yeah.
And
then what was the next one?
So Zach Bailey. Now Adelaide Crows, and I can't remember who told me this, but it's someone close to Bailey said that Adelaide Crows were desperate to get him.
Yeah, I believe that.
Being a Darwin boy, playing in the Sandful, they really rated him. But whatever we did, we managed to get him before him.
Yep.
And they were dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they had that little bit of a rivalry with David Noble, who had previously been there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we probably shafted them a little bit that year with taking Charlie Cameron from them and then taking Zach Bailey.
Yeah. And then at 18, Brandon Starcevich, I say that's a definite boom.
Yep.
Look, it was a bit of a bust early on because he nearly went home in his first season.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and look, I don't know the circumstances. It could have been family stuff, which you've got to understand and be totally fair about.
Yeah, I mean, he had his uncle's obviously the head coach of the women's team, so he's got ties out here.
Yeah, well, when I was growing up in WA, being an East Perth supporter, his dad, Ray, and his uncle Craig both played for East Perth.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome footballers. Just a shame that Craig went and played for Collingwood, but it is what it
happens more than you think with some people.
Yeah, he played for us as well, so we'll give him a tick for that.
We just remember those days.
Yeah. Were you even born back in the 90s?
Oh yeah, in the 90s I was.
Yeah.
I'm 94.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I remember a good chunk of the 90s.
Yeah. Well, next we had Toby Wooler, who I say is a bust. He didn't play a senior game.
Nope.
Had that patch of like 4 or 5 absolutely amazing games in the NEFL and then just dropped off. Now, he was picked up, I believe, as a bit of a buddy for Rayner.
Yeah, because they were both Vic Metro together, weren't they? And
Western Jets.
Yeah, Jets, yeah.
Yeah. And Toby Wooler's grandfather actually played in a premiership for Geelong in the 60s.
And he was the captain of the Vic Metro that year, wasn't he?
Could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he just never really came on. He was kind of like not big enough to be a key, not small enough to be a mid or small forward or back.
Yeah, hybrid.
Yeah, our favourite word. Look, I think he completely lost interest with footy. He might have gone and played some VFL with Carlton for a year or two, but
yes,
yeah, I do know a little bit more than what I'm letting on. But nice guy though. Really, really enjoyed his company a couple of times I was in it. Yep. Connor Ballenden, got to say that's a bust.
Yep.
He was good in a couple of. What did he play? Maybe 6 or 7 games.
He did debut and played a few, but he always looked lost on the field, and he just never had any like spirit or fight in him. He always just kind of walked around, and he would always wait for someone else to do the tackle, or like it looked very clear very early on that he was never going to be.
He was a recipient of the curse as well.
Yes, the VFL best and fairest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had Jack Payne, who's a definite boom.
Yep, definitely can't argue with that. He's had a bit of a rusty patch at the moment, but his last few years have been very solid. Yeah,
look, I don't think his game against Carlton was as bad as people were making it out to be. I think it was probably a brief, maybe 7 to 10 minute period.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he took a little while to come on just because he's a really big boy, and I think his body was too big for him at that age. But like, I would just pick him every week. I love the way he plays football.
Yeah, there aren't too many 200 centimeter, 100 kilo 18-year-olds walking around.
No, his arms were bigger than my whole body when he was 18.
He looks like he's already got grandkids.
Yeah, yeah. And he's so well spoken too. Like everyone else reckons he's really shy, but he opened up to us on Saturday after the VFL game.
Mm.
That was good. And Keen Hanley, absolute bust, like gave us nothing.
Yeah, that was a bit of a weird one because like his brother was already gone at that stage. So it wasn't
Yeah,
like we tried to get him to keep his brother happy because his brother had been gone for over a year at that point.
yeah.
That was a bit of a weird one.
He was one of that part of that experiment we had for about 15 years with guys from Ireland who really weren't that good, but we thought they might be.
Yeah, the only good thing the best thing I can say about Ken Hanley is when he left, apparently he was one of the key people in talking James Madden into coming to the club, who we'll get to later.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not upset about that. And
Yeah.
Harris Andrews really rates him as a bloke. So
Yep.
and I rate Harris as a bloke, so that's good
Yeah,
enough
true.
for me. So yeah, 2018. Pretty good trade period. And I've left someone out here. I just realised. I don't know how. I can't remember how we got him, but Jared Lyons, we got him. I think Gold Coast delisted him, and we picked him up as delisted free agent, didn't we?
Yes, that's right.
So we got him for free. Now I got a message a couple of days earlier from someone who sent me a photo of the boys training down at a local park.
Yep.
And they said, "Who's that guy there with no top on?" And I said, "That's Corey Lyons." And he looks nothing like Jared, mind you.
Yeah.
And they said, "No, that's his brother." And I said, "No, he plays for Gold Coast." And they said, "Watch this space." And we got him. So we got him for
That's
free.
one of the things that I miss about. So I don't go on social media much anymore, as I said in previous episodes. But one of the things that I do miss about following some of the players on socials, particularly like Instagram Reels and things like that, is sometimes you catch them doing cheeky things like that, like playing with guys from other clubs, and sometimes that can lead to a bit more, they're good mates, and sometimes those guys end up coming to the club.
Yeah, like there's always like a couple of guys. Yeah, you see them like around sort of off season time when they're on their annual leave, and like you see a few guys hanging around. And they're guys that went to school together. They're private schools, or they played TAC Cup down here, or whatever the state under 19 or under 18, the Colts in WA and so forth together. Yeah. And yeah, you sort of make these connections. I remember after the draft when North Melbourne picked up Will Phillips, which probably was 21, maybe. I was down at a beach in a pretty posh part of the Mornington Peninsula, south of Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Phillips was there with 5 other draftees from 4 other different clubs, just about 10 metres down the beach from me.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, yeah, okay, these guys are all at different clubs, but they know each other and they're mates. And that goes with what we're saying. I also saw Joe Danaher walking across the road that weekend as well. That's I don't know if that's a claim to fame or not, but seeing Joe out in public probably is. So yeah, I'd say like Lions. I think overall he's a boom.
Yep.
I know we're a bit critical of him at times,
but he was fantastic for us in the first 3 years that he was here. It was only really last year that he started to fall apart a bit because he was getting injuries, and then he just hasn't really come back since.
Just getting a bit older and stuff as well, and
yeah,
I'm really guilty of harshing on guys once they hit 30 and not really giving them their dues once they hit 30, and this is coming from a bloke who's much more than 30 myself, so I should know better, and I still play sport, not that I'm any good at it anymore, but anyway, so we got Lincoln McCarthy in pick 55, which converted to Noah Answorth roughly, and pick 59, and we gave Geelong 43 and 62. That was a bit complicated, that one. And Lockie Neal and pick 30, we gave up 6, 19 and 55 to Freo.
Yep.
Marcus Adams for pick 32, which is essentially Tom Berry.
Yep.
And we gave up Hawthorn's 3rd rounder which we got in some complicated pick swap like we always seem to do, which I love our pick swaps. They're always good.
Yeah, you never really know at the time when it's like, we you give them pick 51 for 53. And it's like, what does that mean? What's the point
Yeah,
of that?
we're always doing them with, seems like Port Adelaide and Gold Coast. We always do these really weird pick swaps.
Yeah.
So, what do you reckon? So, Lincoln McCarthy, definitely
Oh,
a boom.
mega boom. And
Yeah,
I remember this one quite vividly because you were telling me that early on, this is a massive coup. Like this,
yeah.
Geelong didn't want to get rid of him. All the fans down here are upset that he's not staying and all this sort of stuff. And I remember it being a very nonchalant kind of thing from our fan base and even within the media because it was the very first trade that went through for that trade period was
And
him. He
that
just as
was
soon as it started,
really early as
oh,
well.
it was like within like 10 minutes of the trade period opening, it was
Yeah,
like he was done, he was sent, and then it was waiting multiple days for any more trades to happen. But it was just such a casual thing for the media, didn't really seem to give much of a toss about it. The fans didn't really seem to give much of a toss about it.
yeah.
But the Cats fans were really pissed about losing him, and he's been a
He
massive boom.
he was so dynamic. He didn't play. I think he played 30-ish games in the Geelong seniors, but he played a bit of VFL for him as well, and he was so dynamic in the games he played, but he couldn't get his body right,
Yeah.
and that was the knock. Like everyone's saying, well, he's always breaking down. He's not real big. He's kind of small. I would have said, just watch this guy. He's good. He's really
Oh
good.
yeah, no, fair credit to you. You called it
Yeah,
early, and I remember his debut game for us was against Port Adelaide,
yeah,
round one, and he kicked 4 goals, and he was jumping on guys' backs to take marks, and everyone's gone, "Hang on, who's this bloke?" Because everyone, the talk of the town was, we got Lockie Neal. What's Lockie Neal going to do? All this sort of stuff, and then suddenly there's this other bloke who we got for some, loose change from under the couch,
yeah.
who was kind of rushed through the trade period. It was an afterthought, really. He was suddenly just tearing this game to shreds. And it's like, who is this bloke?
Yeah, and I know he's a bit up and down sometimes, but when he's on, he's really on. Like,
Oh yeah, he's one of
he
my
is
favorite. He probably is my
super.
favorite player at the club, to be honest.
I still remember the time when he was on about 3 or 4 goals, and I said it on Facebook, and people screenshotted it for prosperity that if he kicks 5, I'm going to have another son and call him Lincoln. Now I'm single, so if he does kick 5, I'm going to have to get on Tinder or somewhere. I don't
I
know,
was gonna say you're gonna have to make it work somehow.
plenty of
He,
fish or somewhere.
so I have a 3-year-old son, and I was actually I named him Cohen in the end, but Lincoln was on my shortlist of about 3 names,
Yeah,
and it was due to Lincoln McCarthy
and
that was the case.
it's a pretty popular name too, and I kind of
Yeah.
like it. And you'd probably be a fan of Lincoln Park, I reckon.
Oh yeah. Big
Yeah, like me.
Yep.
So yeah, Lockie Neal. I don't care
Oh
what we gave up for him. What we've got out of him is worth that tenfold.
yeah. I mean, 100% agree with you on that one. 2 Brownlow medals kind of speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
And he's the current captain, grand final captain from last year. I mean, we haven't quite got any premierships yet, but that's not his fault. I mean, he always gives 150%.
oh look, and even in the dying seconds of the grand final, he was still trying his heart out.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, he
Um,
wasn't. He wasn't any of the ones that I thought needed to have a talk to after the grand final. I think
yeah,
he left it all out there. There was no. He'd have no regrets about his performance,
no,
and
and
I don't think he would most weeks at all.
no, and like, but it's also the other things like with Luke Hodges, the other things he's brought to the club. He, like teaching the young mids how to get the ball, how to win the ball, but also how to be accountable for it when you don't have the ball.
Yeah.
And, like that's the big thing with him. I know he gets a lot of the ball, not as much now because we don't play that big possession game anymore, but what he does when the ball is not in his hand is more valuable than what he does when it's in his hand, in my opinion.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, like, he's great in the media too, which takes a lot of pressure off the younger guys who might be a bit shy.
Yep.
And this next one is a real sad one for the two of us and probably everyone at the club who supporters everyone is Marcus Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I was a big Marcus Adams fan early on,
yeah,
and
like he was
yeah, that
another
was sad.
one that like a lot of people weren't sure about.
Mm.
But my WA friends were just like, this guy playing for West Perth before the Bulldogs drafted him. He was super.
Yeah, because he was. I know we got him from the Bulldogs, but he was already a mature edge recruit when he went to them, wasn't he? He wasn't
Yeah, he was
18, fresh
about
like national draft kind of thing.
21 ish, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, and he was about 25, 26 when we got him.
yeah. He's I'm going to miss him a lot.
Yeah,
Not just positionally, but I think there wasn't really anyone else like him on the list.
no,
And he was my favorite player to talk to in real life. Like,
he.
go up and have a chat at events.
How good was he to talk to though? Like,
Oh, fantastic!
and so
Genuinely great
yeah,
bloke.
and so appreciative of everything that you said to him.
Yep, he's very genuine.
Yeah, and he was just like, in fact, so Lockie Neal was the same, and Jared Lyons the same guys we got that year. We had a family day, like start of the next season, and they're all like, "We've never had a family day before. This is so good." Like, we approached Lockie Neal at a preseason game for a photo of the kids, and he's like, "I've never been asked for a photo before, and I've been at Freo for 8 years."
Really?
Yeah, he's like, Freo didn't do captains runs when they played in Victoria or South Australia or anywhere. They didn't do family days, and just
How
yeah,
weird.
yeah. So yeah, but like now look at him. He's just you can't get near him now because everyone loves him.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
super celebrity now.
So the draft,
Yes.
this probably wasn't our best draft we've ever had.
No.
So 21, we got Eli Smith, the smiling assassin.
Yep.
Always happy that bloke. But no, look, I will admit, I've got a photo of him smiling standing next to one of my kids.
Geez, that'd be worth some money. That one. That's a collector's item. Very
Yeah.
rare.
36, we've got Tom Berry, and that's under your favourite scheme that we have.
Yep.
The brother scheme.
The brother lure. Yep.
Yep. Number 40, Tom Joyce.
Yep.
42, Connor McFadden, who is a mate of yours, I believe.
Yep.
And 55, Noah Answorth, which I think makes the Lincoln McCarthy deal even better because we got a pretty good back pocket player from the extra draft pick we got in with McCarthy. So, yeah, obviously Eli Smith's a bit of a bust.
I think that whole draft's pretty abysmal
Yeah.
in terms of everything that came before it and even what's come after it. That was an off year for Canole and
But
Dom.
the other thing too is that the problem we had, and every club seemed to have had around about that time, the 2018, 2019 draftees, along came the COVID shit, and guys were missing their families. They were locked up, 19 years old and being locked up in a motel, and there was no reserves footy for them.
Yep.
Like they were playing like six-a-side practice matches against each other or against the Eagles or whoever.
Yep.
I think there was one point where they might have played one against, it was either the Eagles or Freo, where they had 6 guys from each team against 6 guys from each team.
Yeah.
And like there was there was no opportunity for them to bond with the senior guys. They couldn't see their families, girlfriends, whatever.
And like that was, everyone was kind of going through similar things like that in their own lives as well. I mean, not just the bubbles, but
that's right.
COVID was particularly early COVID was a rough time for everyone. But I think that whole draft minus Answorth was a complete bust.
Yeah,
and even Answorth's not a boom. That's that's still kind of a project player, to be honest. With
he's a work in progress. And we knew, like, again, like he was Steve Canole's, like his eyes lit up when he saw, here's a bloke who recently broke his back.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
that's the kind of bloke you want to get straight in, but have an impact.
Like early on, he was awesome. And yeah, like I said, like what he did in the Freo game, I really was impressed. I'd been off him for a little bit, sort of. But yeah, I think if he plays the way he played the other week, he's got a big opportunity now to what do they call it these days, to get a glow up for himself.
Yep.
So the rookie draft, we got Tom Fullerton and James Madden. James Madden, I
Yeah,
think,
nothing.
is a work in
Yeah,
progress, but a good work in
definitely.
progress.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Fullerton either. I think that's a bit of a bust. I mean, I know he's at Melbourne now, but he's injured, and see how
Well,
it goes for him down there.
yeah, so he was available for the first round, I think, the opening round. But they went with Josh Shackey instead, which was, I guess, from our point of view, kind of funny. But
Yes, very ironic.
yeah, but look, Jimmy Madden, I like the cut of his jib.
Yep.
Nice guy. He's picked up the game well for a guy who hadn't played it when he first came along.
Yeah, I mean, out of the Irish players that we've drafted, he's probably the best since Pierce Hanley. I know we've
Yeah.
got McKenna, but he was
Well,
excessive.
McKenna and Darren Joyce, we just kind of picked them up on the side. So
Yeah,
but we'll get to that because they're in the list somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, trade wise, we did really well.
yeah, definitely.
Even though Marcus Adams, you could mount a case to say it was a bust because he had to retire early. But what he did for the games he played, that's
Yeah.
a massive up.
Yeah, I can see why you think that. I mean, short career, but I think performance-wise, big boom.
I don't think that, but I can see why other people would think it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we both man crushed him a lot.
I was a massive fan of Marcus Adams, still am.
Yeah. And like when he announced his retirement, there was just tears everywhere. Not just in that room that he was in either.
No.
Yeah. Gonna miss him, like Justin Clark as well.
Yeah. God. We've had a few of those. Even Brownie didn't finish on top of it.
I really feel a fear for Brownie in later life. I think he's going to have some problems.
Yeah.
That's
a conversation for another time, though.
It is, and hopefully it's a conversation we never have to have, and he's going to be fine.
No. Yeah.
So 2019. We traded a second and fourth rounder, future second and fourth rounder for Calamachi.
Yep.
And we got free agents, Cam Ellis-Yolman, your buddy, and my buddy, Grant Birchall.
Yep. So, yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because so Kalachi, obviously big boom.
I think
we've been raving about him for weeks.
I think we're going to agree on that wholeheartedly.
We were talking about changing the name of the podcast to the Calamachi Fancast.
It might still happen.
Yep. So massive boom there. I think he deserves more credit than he does get, but that's another conversation.
Yes.
So big boom there. Cam Ellis-Yolman. So I predicted that one about a year out.
Yeah, and you were big on him too.
Yep. I thought he was. I mean, he didn't. He ended up being a bit of a bust. But for the type of player that he was, I thought we kind of needed a guy like that, like this massive, very fast, very physical kind of guy who can get in the middle. His ball use wasn't great, but just body wise and just his ability. I thought we needed a guy like that. And so obviously did the recruitment team because we got him.
Yeah, the big body midfielder. That was the catchphrase at the time.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of like a Jared Berry, but more athletic.
Yeah, and like, I just love Indigenous football. I love Indigenous people, but like overall, but like watching them, like, because, growing up in WA and Darwin, like as I did, like watching Indigenous footballers all the time, I just used to love it. Like, I actually, in year 6 in school, I had 11 Riolis in my class.
Good Lord.
So you can imagine why I love Indigenous people and footballers so much.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Ellis-Yolman, I thought, hadn't done anything at Adelaide of note, but big body midfielder, all the things you said, pace, strength. But look, to me, he just looked lazy.
Yeah.
And then
his ball use wasn't great.
Yeah, his ball use wasn't great, but also I think he kind of looked like, well, I'm big, I'm large, it's going to happen for me. Guys are going to fall over, and they didn't.
Funny. I have a funny, just a very brief funny story about Cam Ellis-Yolman. So I was at the season that we, what year was that? Was it 2019?
So we picked him up at the end of 2019, and we
Yeah,
played
okay.
finals that year.
So I was at a Lions home game. I can't remember who we were playing. It wasn't the Crows, but we were playing someone at the Gabba, and Cam Ellis-Yon was there. He was a couple of rows down from me. I was on an aisle seat, and we briefly walked past me to go, I don't know, go to the toilet or go get some food or whatever. And I looked at him and I said, "Hey Cam," and he's like, "Oh, hey mate." And yeah, obviously I had no idea who I was. I was like, oh, I'll see you on the lines list next year. And he gave me this look. And he was just like I knew something. I didn't know anything. Like I had nothing confirmed. I wanted him, and I predicted that we were going to get him at some stage. But I just said to him, I was like, yeah, I'll see you on the lines list next year. And he must have thought that was such a strange encounter, just this random Lions fan, just like I could see the future or something like that. I just thought that was very interesting.
You should have pulled the Shannon Knoll. Don't you know who I am?
Yeah.
And do you remember? I'm going to go back to the previous year. Do you remember before we got Lockie Neals? It's probably like early August.
Mm.
I'd heard a story. Now the story I heard was that he went up to Dane Zorko in the middle of a game and said, "I feel like I'm going to come to your club next year. Try and sell it to me."
Mm.
Now I don't know how true that part of the story is, but I put something on Twitter that a West Australian guy was coming, and I tagged the Lions in it, and they weren't really happy with me.
Ooh.
And then everybody thought I was talking about Andrew Gaff. And I remember you and I and a couple of other friends having a conversation about, how good would Andrew Gaff be once his 8-week suspension finishes?
Yeah.
And I knew deep down it wasn't Andrew Gaff, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yep.
Because I'd heard that it was Lockie Neal, but I was like, geez, he's going to be hard to get. Like, honestly, I don't think we're going to get him. So I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk myself up too much because then I'll look like a dickhead, which I do anyway most of the time. Let's face it. But
well, you remember he was Fife's right hand man. He was the future of Fremantle.
Yeah, but see, the thing was, him and Fife didn't gel because Fife. I love Nathan Fife. He's such a good footballer, but he was the man. He was the stud of the team, and Neil needed to also be the stud, but you can only have one.
That's true.
Well, one per midfield anyway. You can have one in each other line, but
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I digress. Grant Birchall. I don't know if we're going to agree on this.
Well, you're a super fan of Birchall, are you?
Short term, I thought it was a big bust because, I mean, it indirectly led to Alex Witherden being traded. It indirectly led to Noah Answorth not being picked for a year, who I was kind of big on early, but then I went off but what Birchall did for us in games against big teams and in the finals games he played, that was his value, I think. He did look in the regular every other day games he played, he didn't look good, especially during that 2020 COVID year when we're playing every 3 days. He couldn't even bend over to pick up the ball, but I felt when we played finals with him, he brought something.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on that one. So I was huge raps from the moment I heard Luke Hodge was coming. I was like, yeah, all in. And then when I heard Grant Birchall was coming, I was like, oh no. Because I'd seen him playing for Hawthorn, and he was slow, and he looked sore, and he looked like immobile, and I was like, no, please. And then we got him, and the entire time we had him, I just wanted him out of the team every single week.
Oh, look, I was the same. Like, and you know me, I was Mr. Super Positive about every single thing until that year. And then I was like, you know what? We're contending now. We need to be a bit more, harder on some of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, look, I think let's just say 4 out of his 40 games he played for us, he was super, and the other 40 average. So
I think that's a mega bust by definition.
Right. Hey, but he's still employed by the club, and apparently the boys like him. So,
look, best runner we've ever had. I'll give you that.
Oh, I don't know. Craig Starcevich and Source Merritt might have him covered there.
Well, yeah, you're right there. I miss Merritt. I mean, he's doing AFLW stuff anyway.
Uncle Stas was the runner during the three-peat, so
true.
He wins that conversation.
Yeah, no, you're right.
So the draft, we got 22 Devon Robertson,
Mm.
And on the Wikipedia page, it says he was a priority pick. I don't understand that. I don't think he was because we traded
Oh no,
with.
you know what it was? So he technically was, but he was a priority pick for the other club that we traded for. Because remember we traded up because he was
That's what I was
the
about to say.
he was the first pick on the second night.
Yeah,
And we
because
traded up for him.
he went to the first draft night, sat there, and was the only guy not taken.
Yep.
And then we did a trade on the second night, a pick swap to go up a spot in front of Port Adelaide, I think it was.
Yeah. So we didn't get priority pick because we were in
Yeah.
finals. But we traded for someone's priority pick.
Sydney, I reckon.
Yeah, someone.
Because,
Sydney or Port, I think.
2018 Sydney and Melbourne had that. No, 2019, sorry. Sydney and Melbourne had that big drop off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe it was. And, I mean, Sydney get all sorts of good stuff anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That's also a conversation for another time, the whole Cola thing.
They're just another relocated Victorian team like us, let's face it.
True, South Melbourne, we have a lot in common with them.
Yeah, so 33, we got Brock Smith. 37, Kadeen Coleman, who we've talked about a bit already. Yep. And 59, Jackson Pryor, my man.
Yeah, so let's start with Dev. Look, on paper, he's a boom, but I think he's a work in progress.
Yeah, I think so. He hasn't played enough senior footy consistently at the level to be a boom.
And he's also never really grabbed a game by the scruff and taken it apart.
He's grabbed
but he's so elite in the VFL. Like he's one of those guys that's way too good for VFL, but he's just isn't quite ready for AFL yet.
He's grabbed a couple of half games here and there. But
he's also been sub a lot of times. He was last couple of years Kai Lohman, remember?
Yep. Brock Smith's definitely a bust. Didn't play a senior game.
I completely forgot he existed, so that's a bust.
Yeah, I only get reminded of him every now and then because my son's name is Brock, and he's like, "Oh,
yeah,
what happened to Brock Smith? I liked him."
yeah,
of course you did, but no.
I'd remembered every single one of these blokes until Brock Smith, and I completely forgot that he was on the list.
Yeah, so he was like one of those mid-ish sized defenders. Never played a senior game. Kitty Coleman, that's big huge boom. I was just messing with you there.
Yeah, I almost got confused with him before as well.
Yeah,
but yeah, big tick on Kitty. He's an essential player.
And Jackson Pryor, I think, is another work in progress.
Yeah, I agree on that.
He's been good and he's been really bad at different times.
Yep.
Not much more to be said about that year. Probably wasn't a great year other than Kitty, I think.
It was all right. It was much better than 2018.
And Archie was there.
Yep.
So 2020. Trade, we got Nakia Cockatoo for a future third rounder, and we got Joe Danaher for free.
Yep. So Nakia. So I remember thinking that, this is a bit of a steal here. This could be really good.
Yeah.
And then he just never came on.
If he got his body right.
Did a couple of good things in the AFL for us, but not much.
Stayed lean, he would have been a superstar. Like his junior career up in Darwin and like his early few games for Geelong were awesome. Like he was
a high draft pick for Geelong.
I think like a pick 6 or pick 8 or something.
Yeah. So I remember thinking there was a good chance that he could come on and do something good, like Archie being another high draft pick the year before.
Well, there was a lot of talk about he'd make a good sub. He could come on, play back or forward, pinch hit in the midfield in the last quarter, whatever. But he built his body, his muscle up too big, and he didn't have his speed.
Yep.
And I'm sort of hot on that a lot, which you may have picked up on. So yeah, but like Joe Danaher, what can we say? That's got to be a massive, massive, massive boom.
Yep. Yeah, big tick. Obviously, he has his frustrating moments, but I think it is outweighed by his just jaw-droppingly excellent moments.
Yeah, and again, he'd played 9 games in 3 seasons due to one injury.
Yeah.
And Essendon fans reckon he was just messing with him and wasn't really injured. But I mean, come on, look how many guys Essendon have had on their injury list before and since.
True, but I think there was a bit of him coming down with a case of I don't want to be here.
Yeah. Oh well, why would you want to be there?
No way. But I don't hold that against him. I mean, that's previous club stuff. He's only done really good stuff for us. He's a couple of silly moments, but I'd say he's 95% good and 5% absolutely ridiculous. But
he won a final for us when we should have lost.
Oh, that backwards kick for the Richmond
against Richmond.
Yeah. I still watch that one sometimes. I'm not gonna lie.
He's kicked over 150 goals in 3 seasons, which is just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, no one's even close to that except for Charlie on our list.
Yeah, and when you've got Charlie and Hipwood and Danaher, and we had Dan McStay, who didn't kick a lot of goals but kicked a few. Lincoln McCarthy's always kicking a lot. You're fighting for the scraps to kick the goals. So to be able to kick 50 a season, basically, and to play with a busted shoulder for a year and still kick close to 50.
Yeah, and he's good for at least 2 goals a game.
Yeah, that's it.
It's usually more than that.
So
the average is about 2, I think.
Yeah,
big tick on Joey.
Yeah, absolutely. So the draft, we got pick 24, Blake Coleman, pick 43, Harry Sharp, 48, Henry Smith, and rookies. I'm going to stuff this up. And being of Eastern European background, I shouldn't get it wrong, but Davidus Uosis.
Oh, of course, yes.
The Irish Ukrainian. The Lithuanian, Ukrainian, Irish, whatever he was, yeah.
He was the first Lithuanian AFL player.
Yeah, Lithuanian, yes, right, yeah.
Yeah, he was born there and then lived in Ireland for almost all of his life.
And we got Carter Michael as well as a Cat B.
Yeah, there's no one there that really jumps out as super exciting. But we're also getting closer to the current year now, so some of these guys are still project players. Henry Smith, bit of a project player still.
Yeah, Harry
showing really good signs.
Harry Sharp's a work in progress still.
Yeah, those two are showing good signs though.
Yeah, as we've said, he's a bit younger than his age, so to speak.
Yeah,
but his body's starting to fill out a bit. I noticed on the weekend as well.
Yeah,
Uosis bust.
Yep.
Coleman a bust. Never looked like playing AFL footy.
Nope.
He's now playing for Williamstown in the VFL. Played on Friday night against Frankston in a win. I don't think he kicked any goals, but that's not a here nor there. And Carter Michael is an interesting one because he has played a senior game. Looked good.
He has, and he did, but he got dropped and then he's been injured ever since, basically. Feels like he's never gets out of rehab.
Yeah, and apparently his dad was a great quaffle player back in the day.
Yeah.
But someone tried to tell me that Mel Michael was his dad, and I'm like, no, Mel Michael's not his dad.
No.
I mean, he wishes.
I think that would be more noticeable.
I mean, Mel Michael was a lot of people's daddy, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so look, I think, overall, other than Joe Danaher and to a lesser extent, Sharpie and Smithy probably didn't have a great. But 2020
everyone else was a big bust.
Yeah, 2020 was hard because there was no underage or reserves footy anywhere.
Yeah.
So the draft was like back to the 1980s where you sort of, someone would ring you up and go, oh, this bloke's good, pick him up.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Joey was such a big get that the rest of it's kind of a bit null and void. I like Henry Smith as a good long-term project, and I think that there's something there, so that's good. If Sharp comes on, if he doesn't come on, I don't think it really matters either way. There's a lot of guys in that similar sort of position. So he's kind of a wait and see. But
go on.
Yeah. I just think Smith and Joe combined for the ins for that year is probably enough for me.
Yeah. How old do you reckon Big O is now? Probably 28, 29?
He's 29. I checked the other day.
Yeah. So
Fort's 30.
Yeah. So like they're sort of hitting that 30 mark now. Henry Smith's probably 23, I reckon.
No, he's younger than that. I checked. He's 21.
Okay, so see, his best footy's not going to come till he's 26.
Yeah. So around the time those guys retire.
Exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's perfect. Kalen Lane could be the same.
I'm not as wrapped on Kalen Lane.
Yeah, as a ruckman, I am, but not anywhere else on the ground.
I think we're not talking about 2023 draft, but we got some good tall guys in this year that I think could usurp Lane in the next couple of years.
Well, Zane Zakostelski played as a ruckman mostly for Claremont, so
yeah, he is down as a key defender though on the stat sheet.
I thought it was weird because like all the talk about him pre and post draft was that he played mostly as a ruckman in Claremont's Colts and played a couple of reserves and senior games as like a pinch hitting ruckman. So I'm happy for anyone in WA to correct me on that because I support a waffle team on the other side of the river from Claremont and hate them. So they're like, to me, they're almost like the Port Adelaide of Western Australia.
Oh, right, that bad.
And my best mate James Brayshaw played for them back in the 80s. So, So anyway, I'll go on because it's getting late in the real world.
Yep.
2021. We got no free agents, but we got Darcy Fort for pick 41. Ed pick 41 for 22 third rounder and pick 50 of that year.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a work in progress, isn't it?
Is he the only guy we got in?
Yeah, the only trade we did, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's work in progress. I mean, he's, I'd say he's looking, 70-30, 70 good, 30 bad.
But
definitely work in progress.
His kicking for goal early on was elite.
Well, he set the record for most games played without score, most goals kicked before kicking it behind or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And look, he got a good run of games while Hipwood was in rehab.
Yep.
With his knee, but then once Hipwood came back, obviously the four tall forwards because we had McStay still.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mess, wasn't it?
Yeah, 3 tall forwards doesn't work, and 4 definitely doesn't work. And we even played Jack Payne up forward one of those games as well, if I recall. God. But yeah, so 5 tall forwards. But in the draft, we got Darcy Wilmot at 16, Kyle Lohman at 20, Jimmy Tunstall at 41, Kalen Lane in the mid-season at 14, and a pre-season supplementary pickup was Mitch Cox from Williamstown.
Yeah, so that's a much better draft than some of the previous ones we just mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think Wilmot, big tick.
Yeah, and the thing with Wilmot, like, when he got picked for his debut in a final, there was a lot of, what are we doing? Selectors are idiots. Fagan's got no idea, and he's been a gun ever since.
He hasn't missed a game since.
Yeah, and he was so good in that game as well.
Yeah.
I think he kicked a goal, maybe?
Yep, yeah, he did. Because remember, he had those massive celebrations, and there was all the media talk about how excessive he was with his celebrations.
I've never watched that game.
What?
That's my dirty little secret. Because I was working night shift, and I woke up before work about 7 minutes ago in the last quarter. I had to have a shower and stuff. And so I had my phone on one of those GoPro type sticks.
Oh, yeah.
Selfie sticks, holding it out of the shower while I'm washing myself with one hand, watching the phone refresh on the AFL app.
So you're watching the live stats. You weren't even watching a video of the game.
No. But like I've watched the highlights package, but not the game in full. Like I did go back the next day, and it's funny. Like I put something on my Facebook the next day about how Joe Danaher's won more finals since 2004 than Essendon, and 6 people blocked me on my friends list. 4 of them were Richmond supporters. Go figure, right? But anyway, Kyle Lohman, work in progress.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything other than that.
Yeah, Jimmy Tunstall, same.
Yeah. I mean, they both fit really good on paper, but Tunstall he's debuted, hasn't he?
Yeah, he debuted in a big match against Melbourne,
Yeah,
where we
and we
got
didn't do well,
absolutely smashed.
and he got
Like,
punished for it.
yeah, he was a scapegoat. Like,
Yeah,
Petrarca absolutely destroyed us that night,
yeah,
and yeah, there's a bit of out coaching done by Goodwin, who's probably the second most boring coach in the league. But he out coached us that night.
yeah. So they're both work in progress, but I think that there's a high ceiling for both of them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Their best football is still ahead of them,
Yep.
and same with Wilmot.
Yep.
The only thing with Wilmot is it's funny when he kicks the ball. It's like I go to games at Marvel Stadium when we play there, and it looks like he's going to hit the roof every time he kicks it.
Oh, he goes so high instead of going long. Hey, it's
Yeah, but
ridiculous. And he's good on the run. Like he's good for chucking it under his wing and bouncing it and running like 50 meters down the field.
Yeah, and there's kind of, I guess, there's a role for him there going forward now to maybe be a run and carry ball distributor.
Yep.
And yeah, Kalen Lane, we've spoken enough about him.
Yeah.
You could probably say he's a work in progress because he's still on the list.
I would say bust. Maybe you'd say work in progress, but he's still on the list. So
yeah, and Mitch Cox was just there basically if someone got COVID.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I thought there was because he won a VFL Best and Fairest the year before that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He won it 2 years before that, I think.
Yeah, because there was some big raps around him. I thought maybe he was our next Zorko kind of thing at one stage.
Look, he's really, really good, and I'm maybe a bit biased because I watch a lot of Williamstown games, and he's back at Williamstown now too. So
yeah, I just thought it was really strange because it was like a very Zorko kind of story.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, we got another one here. And then I don't think he debuted, did he?
No. I don't think he was even on the senior list.
Yeah.
So, look, not bad. Like Fort, Wilmot, Lowman, Tunstall, pretty good gets.
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
You don't really worry about the other guys because they were just kind of like supplementary players. And this is the last year we're going to do is 2022. And we got Jack Gunston for pick 48 and a future fourth rounder. And we got Josh Dunkley and 2 future third round picks for a future first, a future second, and a future fourth.
Yep.
And I remember the Bulldogs coming out saying, well, Brisbane are going to have to pony up, give us 2 first rounders for this year. Nothing else will do. You're not getting Dunkley. He's not going anywhere, and we got him.
Yep. Same story as with Neil with Freo. I mean, remember what's his face? Their
Peter Bell
was like feather in my cap and all that crap that he was spewing. Yeah, they put on a big show, and it was the same with Charlie Cameron as well. I remember Justin Reid at the Crows. He was going, no, he's not going. He's not going. Well, it's just not happening.
I mean, look, I understood what he was saying. It's like, here's a guy with 70 games under his belt that we've developed from a teenager, and what are we going to bring in now? An 18-year-old. And we've been through it with the go home 5 and all that sort of jazz.
Yeah.
So we obviously know where he's coming from, but hey, I don't care because we wanted our man and we got him.
That's it. So I think obviously big tick with or big boom with Dunkley, obviously. Yep. And with Gunston, so the third of the Hawthorn champions that we've got. To say it's been a mixed bag has been a bit of an understatement. So I already made myself clear with Hodge. I was all in straight away, and that proved to be a big tick.
Yep.
With Birchall, I was out straight away, didn't want him, and was vindicated there. With Gunston, I was big raps. I was like, he's going to be a great 1, 2, 3-year player for us, like a gap filler. He's going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. He was a couple of preseason games. I went and saw him play down the road from me at our new stadium, Brighton Homes Arena. He was kicking like 5 goals in preseason and intra-club games and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, mate, we're on here. Like, this is the year. Yeah. And then he just bust. He just played like shit in all the senior games.
He had some good moments, like that Bulldogs game where we were awful.
Yeah.
he wasn't awful. He was quite good. He kicked maybe
Mm.
3, 4 goals, but
Yeah.
yeah, that was that game where I think there was a quarter where we just kept missing. Like every player just kept missing except for him.
Yeah.
And the Bulldogs kept us at arm's length, but he sort of kept us in touch, sort of.
Yeah.
And obviously, he got 7 against the Witches Hats later in the year.
Mm.
But yeah, like there's something fishy about him, like, wanting to go back straight away. I've heard a
Yeah,
story.
1 year player. We don't get many of those. You don't see many of those in the AFL at all, actually.
No, and look, there has been some, but very few and far between.
Jason Horne-Francis at North Melbourne.
Yeah, but like, or guys that go back to their original club.
Yep.
Yeah, you see it occasionally, but yeah, not often. But uh, not. I mean, they didn't have him anywhere near the team for the final series.
Mm.
That tells me maybe Fagan knew something we didn't.
Yeah. He probably told them early on that he was out of it.
And you got to think, like, if you've got a guy that says, "Look, I'm not going to be here next year," and you're about to play a final series, do you want him around your group? Probably not.
No, probably not.
Like I remember Carlton did that with Zach Tui and Lockie Henderson. They asked for trades at about round 17, and I think Mick Malthouse might have been their coach that year, and he's just like, "Oh
Well, that explains a lot.
enjoy sitting in a cafe for the next few weeks." And well, they ended up becoming pretty good players for the Cats, but that's
True.
no. Lockie Henderson was a dud anyway from us. Remember, we used to have him.
Yep.
I thought he was going to be a superstar when we got him, and no.
I keep track of every single player that leaves the club and track their performance until they retire.
Yep.
And he was one of the ones that it was kind of you'd forget about him a little bit because it was so long ago that he was a Lion.
Yeah. But the thing is,
he's retired now, isn't he?
yeah, he only retired like one or so years ago.
Not long ago. Yeah, it was either last year.
I reckon it was the year that Geelong won the flag.
But he wasn't on the. He didn't play in that game though, did he?
No, he played a few games that year. I think they delisted him and redrafted him that year, and then he retired. But he would have been about probably 34. So realistically, he was just coming into his draft age for Geelong. Let's face it.
Yeah, yeah, in his prime.
Anyway, so the draft that year.
Yep.
Apparently, we only had 2 draft picks: Will Ashcroft at 2 and Jasper Fletcher at 12, both father sons. But we did Cat B.
I mean, we spent a shitload of points on them, so it's not surprising.
Did we ever? And look, I think you got to. Well, we'll get to that in a sec. Cat B, Daryl McDowell White Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Shadow Rain also a Cat B.
Yep.
And then for free in the preseason supplementary pickups, we got Dara Joyce and Connor McKenna.
Yes.
So
a lot of players in.
Yeah, like and 2022 clubs were allowed to get those preseason supplementary COVID top-up players.
Yeah.
Just in case. And I think the Eagles ended up having like 19 of them in a team one week. But yeah.
Yeah, that was a rough match when the coach is presenting him jumpers and he doesn't even know their names.
Yeah. But yeah, look, obviously Ashcroft, I think he's got to be a boom.
Oh,
the games he played, he was unbelievably good.
Yes, but it's such a short amount of a small sample size, I should say.
Yeah. You're right.
So I think on paper, I mean, we know he's a boom. We know he's going to be a boom, and he's going to be excellent. But technically, he should probably go on the work in progress just because he hasn't shown a huge amount of games. We haven't seen a huge amount of games from him. He's been fantastic in every single game that he's played. So I guess you could say that's a boom.
Yeah.
But because he's only played half a season and he's missed a shitload of footy now. I don't know. I think it has to be a boom, but I'm not rock solid on that. Just because of how much he's missed.
It's teetering on work in progress to a boom.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't want to jinx it, and I don't want to say it, but there is a possible future where he's triple premiership player, and one of the greatest players, 300 gamer for us, and then there's also a possibility that he does a few more of these and bows out gracefully.
Yeah, look,
doesn't have a huge resume. So I think by the fact that it's so early, I think we have to say work in progress.
Yeah. So
Um,
I think it's a bit the same with Fletcher.
yes, yeah, it has to be. He's
Um, he-
obviously played a lot more games, but
yeah,
and he's been a bit quieter recently. But I think he's definitely a work in progress
yeah,
as
and
well. And we're
he's
looking at guys who've only been on the list for just over 12 months anyway.
yeah, that's right. So this is a really tentative sort of thing. Daryl McDowell White Jr. We've already spoken about him.
Yeah, bust. He's on the
Yes,
VFL list now.
Shadow Brain. I think is a work in progress.
Definitely.
I think he's got good value. Darragh Joyce is a handy backup replacement if someone goes down.
Yeah.
Like he's useful. He's not ever going to be the best centre halfback flanker you're ever going to see, but
No. And I
he
guess you could say work in progress, but at the same
yeah
time, he's not going to get better. So he's kind of
yeah
just he's in purgatory waiting to be needed.
yeah. And look, I think he was pretty good on the weekend. Like without sort of without getting a lot of the ball, without being a superstar, I think he did his job.
He did his job. He was fine.
Yeah, and yeah, that one's Connor McKenna. I don't even have
Your
to
favorite
say.
player?
I don't even
Yeah.
have to say what I think. I've got a Connor McKenna badge on my scarf. So
Yeah. I say boom. And the reason I'm not saying it's up in the air because he's only been on our list for as long as Fletcher and Ashcroft, but he does have
yeah,
his body of work from Essendon as well. So we pulling that in together, I'd say he is a boom, just because
yeah,
he's missed very little football for us and he's been really good for us. I think he's a boom, just because we know what his full body of work looks like.
yeah.
He's
That's
not.
right.
So I think boom for that.
Yeah, we look, and the thing is too, like he went away from Essendon during the COVID period, went home to Ireland, and played in a championship over there in the Irish, like the Gaelic football,
Yeah,
and kept himself fit, kept his skill level up, and I think he's come back an even better player.
I didn't think he was coming back, let alone to us.
No, and I recall us having a conversation at the time. We were a bit dubious about it. I think
Mm.
it was like, yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Is he even going to play? Like,
Well,
how does?
he was choosing like between like five clubs or something
Yeah,
when it was rumored that he was
yeah,
coming back because it was us, Essendon, Collingwood, and I don't know two other ones I think. Um,
yeah.
and he picked us for some reason. I'm guessing a coffee with Fagan, as they all say, was the reason that they all decided to pick us.
They all say that.
They do.
Yeah. Oh well. I mean, hey, if you ask Jason Ackermanis, it's probably better than a coffee with Lee Matthews. He
Yeah,
doesn't have
true.
too many good stories to tell about those. So yeah, look, that's a wrap on the recruiting. Obviously, we've spoken about the current crop of draftees. Haven't seen Zach Ostelski much
Mm.
previous at all. Just a couple of highlights, but haven't seen
They're
him
all
play
very
for us.
tall.
Yeah,
I was so I'm just I while we were talking about it earlier, and I just typed up some quick stats. So Luke Lloyd, 193 centimeters, key forward.
yep,
Reece Torrent, 184 centimeters, which is my height,
yeah.
midfielder. Zane, I'm not going to pronounce his last name,
Zach
190,
Ostelski.
196 centimeters, key defender, and
Yeah.
Logan Morris, 191 centimeters, key forward. And the two key forwards that we had both had fantastic games in the VFL on the weekend.
Yeah, and look, as I said, I thought Torrent was good as well. Um,
Mm.
obviously they're all. Well, I think Morris is up to a debut soon. The other guys, bit of a work in progress, but we'll
Yep.
look. We don't know. They've played one game for the club. You know what I mean? So, well, Zach Ostelski hasn't played any games for the club.
No.
So now we'll wrap it up soon. But you wanted to talk about some future father sons.
I might leave that for a future one, just because we've already been talking for quite a while. Because I had a couple written down, but I actually want to get really in depth in that one, and I want to try and plan out as many of them as I can, um, for each year, kind of going
Yep.
forward. I might even do like a different year every week or something like that, because it's pretty. I'll give you a little bit of an insight into what I've discovered so far without going into detail, but it looks like around the end of this decade, so like 2029, 2030, oh, sorry, 2030, that's when it looks like a lot of them are coming through around the same time, and some
Yep.
sons of some really good premiership players.
And also, just from the female front, Chris Johnson has a daughter who's, I reckon, getting close to draft age. And I know when she was a junior, she was really good.
Yep.
But
And
then Essendon
and
have an AFLW club now, so who knows?
true. And Jason Ackermanis has some daughters coming through the draft age soon.
Yeah, one of them was doing some training with the girls at one stage, I think.
Yep, definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, there's two guys who've got some pretty good genes
Oh yeah.
and some awesome DNA. So, yeah, like,
I tell you what, it's really hard to research this sort of stuff without getting into creepy, stalking their social medias because like a lot of the information that I gathered from, I looked up certain players and things like that. Some of that is public information that, that's me extrapolating birth announcements through club posts from like 10 years ago and things like that.
yeah,
And a lot of like interviews, through the age and stuff where they talked about my 5-year-old son in X year. So then you extrapolate age, whatnot. Doesn't mean any of these kids are actually going to play footy, but you just go, if they're in footy, which I know some of them are in footy, and if they're good enough, this will be their draft year and they would be eligible for father son. So,
well, so
I'll give you one real quick that I'd worked out. So Lachlan Black, eldest son of Simon Black,
yep,
he will be eligible for the draft in 2029.
nice.
Yeah, good one to look forward to.
Yeah, love Simon Black.
Mm.
Lovely guy, great footballer, and very underrated by everyone outside of Queensland and Western Australia.
Mm.
I'll give you two for father-daughter,
Okay.
but I don't think we'll get him. I think Geelong will get him. In fact, I'll also give you a father-son that I don't think the dad played enough games for us, but
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he might have played in a premiership for us. So the two daughters, and my daughters played with and against the two Lappin girls.
Okay. Yep.
Same team and opposition teams.
Yep.
Because she's a club hopper.
Yep. He's got 4 daughters, doesn't he, Lappin?
Yeah. So Meg's the one. Meg's like Geelong Falcons age now, so I'm talking like under 18s age, maybe a bottom age under 18.
Okay. So potentially draftable this year or next year?
Probably one or two.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works in the AFLW anymore. I know we could pick up 17-year-olds at one point. It's like Talia Randall was 17 when we drafted her. And the other one, so Blake Carosella, I don't know how many games he played for us. Did we have him for 1 or 2 years?
I can't even remember, but I know that he was the VFL coach against us on the weekend.
Yeah, well, I did see him there. And he was shaking
Wasn't
hands.
long. He didn't play long for us.
Yeah, I reckon maybe 03, 04 or 02, 03, something like that.
Yeah. I think it's 02, 03 because I think he was still playing for Essendon earlier than that.
Yeah, he got squeezed out by the Essendon salary cap after they won the flag and everyone wanted a pay rise, which is fair enough because they had a super team those 2 years, but those 3 years really. But he's got one son who's a good basketballer, not really good at football. My son's played basketball with him. And he's got another son who's really good at football, but the Cats are trying to get their claws into him.
Okay.
So I don't know how that works because I suppose they could do like a John Blakey and the Lizard scenario, couldn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, because that would be kind of just up to him at that point.
Yeah, geez, I'm dirty we didn't get the Lizard. I love him.
Because that was a whole like father-son versus academy thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, because John Blakey played for like 150, I'm going to say, games for Fitzroy and probably about 200 for North Melbourne.
Yeah, and then he was academy at Swans. So
John was a coach at Sydney for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, that was a messy one.
So what's his? I don't even know his son's name anymore. Like we always just call him the Lizard. Nick
Blakey. Yeah.
Nick Blakey. He had the choice of 3, and we should have got him, but no.
Yeah. Oh well.
He fits our demographic as a mobile mid-sized halfbacker.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh well, we're thinking about what could have been.
Yeah.
But I think we should because there's a lot of stuff we should look into doing an episode on this in the future because there's a lot we could go into here about father sons, father daughters, whatnot.
Yeah, I think we'll wait until we can get Alicia on for that one.
Yep.
Because she'll know a lot more than what I will. I only really know, and because there's a lot of extra Brisbane players that have coached at Geelong and are now living down here, like I sort of know who's down here.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know anything else on
the ones that I did find. So I want to go like guys that are going to be ready in the next couple of years. That one's going to be a bit harder to track down. But towards the end of this decade, there's going to be a lot of kids. If they decide to play footy and are good enough, there's a lot. And I've got a list here, and there's a bunch of them.
And it all comes down to how good the club is as well at the time, because as we know, like big runs do come to an end at some point.
Yep.
And for every year you're up, there's going to be a year that you're down in the future.
Yep.
And hopefully it's not this year.
God, I hope not.
Yeah, look, to be honest, if it's the years that we don't have a home ground while they're doing the Olympic stuff and we've only got a 10,000-seater stadium, what do you do? Like, we'll still pack it out, right?
Oh, God, don't even get me started with the Olympics.
Yeah, mate. I have tried.
No one even knows definitively what's happening with that yet.
I've tried so hard to avoid that, and being down south, I'm out of the loop a bit. But I know
it's a big hot topic up here.
The Raw Deal guys go on and on about it a bit too much, in my opinion. But a bit politically motivated.
We can't talk about waffling on, mate. We waffle on way more. That's our trademark.
But that's our shtick. You know what I mean? That's what we do. All right. Well, I guess that'll wrap it up then.
Yeah, I think that's it for now. We'll probably come back in a few days to preview the Collingwood game.
Yeah, so if selection's on Tuesday night, I'm good. Otherwise, you might have to just record something yourself. And
No, Tuesday night's good for me, so that should work.
So if it's on Wednesday night, I can't do it. But I'm assuming it'll be 2 days before the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuesday night, I'm good for selection. I'm outing myself here. I have 2 functions to go to on Wednesday and Thursday nights, so I'm going to miss probably half of the game on Thursday night.
Oh, bugger.
Now
I'll be watching it all. My dad's actually coming down this week because school holidays next week and Easter and all that sort of stuff. So my dad's driving down from Cairns, so he's going to be watching the game with me and the next few games over the next couple of weeks as well. So that'll be good.
So since the start of 2018, I have missed watching 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
One was the Bulldogs game last year. I watched that later, like the next day.
Yep.
But there's a Richmond final where we won. There's a game in Tassie where we beat Hawthorn. And there was another game that we won. So, it was a game against Richmond, that one where Robbo broke Dustin Martin's ribs.
I don't think I've missed a live senior game for the men since 2016, and that includes me walking around a Melbourne Zoo on a holiday watching on my phone to make sure that I didn't miss the game. I think that was 2019.
Yeah, well, I missed those. Well, I missed one of them because of night shift, but the others I missed because I was coaching those particular days. So let that be an omen that we're 3-1 in those 4 games that I've missed. Yeah. All right. Let's do it. I've got to go to bed. It's 10 o'clock in the real world.
Yeah, we've had a good long chat.
I
don't envy the editing job that you've got on this one.
No, it'll be all right. I'll just I'll just edit out 5 minutes of me talking about the wrong player like I did last week.
All right, mate.
All right.
It was good chatting to you again, and I'll talk to you again in a couple of days when we got a bit more info about the upcoming game.
Yeah, have a good one, and hopefully we get the team we want.
Yeah, hopefully that'd be nice.
No worries, mate. Have a good one.
You too. See you, mate.
See ya.
Bye.